Hey y'all, I'm Val from Our Forever Farm. It's the next morning. I actually left a mess in my kitchen. Everything was clean and washed and everything, but I didn't feel good. I have a sinus infection, and so I'm just now putting away some of the things that we're going to use today to make our goodies. So, as I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've got all my plastic containers out for the tomato soup. I don't know how many I'll need. It won't be that many. Um, we actually got hungry last night, and I warmed up that soup, and my friend had gave us some hot peppered cheese, and I had those crackers that I did yesterday. This is the way they look. It's so good. And you're supposed to eat them after you let them sit overnight, but these were delicious, and they had just been a few hours. So what I'm going to do with those today is I'm going to package those up for the freezer where we can pull out whenever we want them for soup. They've got red pepper flakes. Oh, they're so good. You've got to try them, and they're easy. We're going to put our soup in all these containers and take them to the freezer, and then we're going to finish cleaning out the refrigerator. And it's just surprising what all you have in your refrigerator after a week or so. So you can make so many meals from it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cook Sweet Hunter some sausage and pancakes. That is out of our refrigerator too. So, and it needs to be used. And we're going to do a lot of other things. So thank y'all for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Let's get to cooking. We're going to start out with these sausages, and we're going to cook them. And then we're just going to make us a pancake or two, and we're going to eat breakfast. Again, if I'm a little off looking, y'all know I don't feel good, but we still got to work. So we're going to get this sausage cooked up, and then we're going to make pancakes. So many of you might remember when I made the Bisquick the other day. This is my second batch. So I just used the homemade Bisquick recipe to make my pancakes. It works out so good. And I usually make half the recipe when it's just us. So the recipe on Google for Bisquick calls for 2 cups of Bisquick mix, and it calls for a cup of milk. So, and I'm using half and half just because I like to. I think it makes your pancakes richer. And I'm using half a cup of that. Now it calls for 2 eggs, and I'm using 1 egg. So I'm halving the recipe. And then I'm just mixing this up. My mix has been in the refrigerator, so it's a little cold, so it's good to let it just sit out just a little bit. If it's too thick, just add a little bit more heavy whipping cream or milk. Milk is what it's called for in the recipe. And this might be just a little thick. It's about time for me to go to the store. When I clean out the refrigerator, then it's about time for me to go to the store. This is a very simple little breakfast for just the 2 of us. We're using link sausages and homemade Bisquick mix. As I told you before, we're cleaning out the refrigerator. Yesterday we made homemade tomato soup. Today we're just using what we have in the refrigerator to get it cleaned out. So this is a container that was here when we moved here, and I just love it. It fits in the microwave very good to warm syrup up. And I just bought some syrup to fill it up. So we're going to do that. Get that filled up for the week. Now, yes, I could just use this bulk bottle, but this is so neat. And I think it's neat that even though we've washed it 100 times, it's still got the labels on it. And it fits right in the microwave to warm up your syrup. I can get it on. So it says free pitcher, so evidently she bought log cabin syrup and got the free pitcher. I love that. I think that's neat. And it's got eagles on it. I guess that's patriotic. Look at that. Isn't that neat? You probably wouldn't see that today. So I can't get rid of that. So I've got my sausage out, and I'm going to prep my pan with butter and a little olive oil for the pancakes. So I have my syrup warming. I just did that whole thing for 1 minute. My pan's heating up for pancakes, and
So I don't know about you, but when I put my pancakes in, my first pancake, it gets thrown out. It just doesn't work out. After that, it's fine. Now, you can tell when your pancake batter is done and ready to turn when you see these tiny bubbles all over the pancake. So this is my second pancake. I think this is just a tradition with me. I always told my girls, throw the first one out. So I don't know about you, but when the summer vegetables are over, I tend to want to get my house cleaned up, ready for the winter, ready for the rest time. I want to slow myself down. We're fixing to do a series, just a little series here on YouTube and Facebook, and it's called Bringing Us All Home. I think we all need to slow it down and put it in a different gear for the winter. We need to get our priorities straight and figure out what's really important. And home is what it's all about. Now, if you've never heard why I started this channel, I started this channel for my girls. I wanted them one day, maybe if I was even gone, to look back on this channel and learn to cook. And then it grew into more than that. It's grown into a ministry. So that's what this channel is all about. I'm so excited about this series. And I want you to pray for me that I'll say and do the right things. We want to get back to the basics and bring us all home. We were sitting talking to our grandchildren the other day, and we were talking about the things that are important. Now, Sweet Hunter brought up such a good subject. He said, we lived through the blizzard of 93. And when we lived through that, we live in Georgia. We didn't think about money. We didn't think about the dollar. What we thought about is food and water and heat, keeping ourselves warm and clothed. That was the important things. He made such a good point. And then I looked at him and I said, one day you're going to be sitting like we are, talking to your grandchildren. You'll be 68 and 69 years old. And you'll be talking to them about what was important in your life. That's what this is all about, y'all. We want to bring everybody back home. They may not listen now, but they will one day when they're older. Now, we got into some pretty deep stuff, and I enjoyed hearing from their viewpoint what's important to them and what they're wanting to do with their lives and how they're wanting to accomplish it and what they think's going to happen. It was so interesting, y'all. I think we need to listen more. We need to ask questions more. We need to talk more. And that's what this channel's all about. Now, we're just making pancakes and sausage right now. Nothing spectacular, but what it all boils down to is the little things are the big things, even pancakes and sausage. I'm going to
get everything prepared, and what we're going to do next is, and I think this is the way you say it, salsa verde. Salsa verde? I'm making it with green tomatoes. I'm so excited. I just looked up how to pronounce that. Salsa verde. No? I'm just a southern gal. Hey, I told you we were doing the salsa verde next, but what we're doing is we're going to put our tomato soup that we made yesterday in containers for the freezer and take that on down to the freezer. I found out last night when we ate the soup, I fixed him a big bowl of it and I fixed me a smaller bowl, but I need to put these in individual bowls that we can just pull out for lunch. So I'm doing smaller containers just for us. This will not be for company. This will just be for us for a lunch with our crackers. We're also going to package our crackers up for the freezer too. So let's get started on this.
So if you didn't see the last video where we made this creamy tomato soup, I'll link this in the description box. This was so good. And you actually can make this any time of year. Of course, garden time is the best time. But all I'm doing is packaging this up in individual containers for the freezer. So remember, we're cleaning out our refrigerator. We're using what we have. And look at this.
Got 7 individual servings and 1 for 2. So isn't that something? That's just great. So next we're going to work on our crackers that we did last night. Now this may look gross to you, but that's just the oil and the red pepper flakes. These are delicious. So I've got a cookie sheet and I've got parchment paper. And you know what I do with that? If you hadn't been here long enough to know, we just scrunch it up and then it lays where you want it to. So I'm only doing this to keep a mess from happening on the cookie sheet. I don't feel like washing a pan. Now, I wash my hands constantly, normally anyway, but if I'm sick, I definitely wash my hands a lot. And if I handle something like this, I want to make sure I'm doing everything possible to keep the germs from getting out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour my crackers out on the cookie sheet, if I can get them out of this little mouth. And then this will be washed. Now some of these may break up. Don't fret, it's fine. But you just want to put enough for a serving. Or just fill up a Ziploc bag. That's probably what I'm going to do. Just fill up a Ziploc bag because you can get these out whenever you want them. Now you could flash freeze these if you want to. And you'll see crumbs. It'll be okay. Just let them stay on the parchment paper and we'll just throw that away. So I was going to package these up separately, but I decided just to lay them in the freezer like this. And then we can just pull out what we want when we want. I've got this cookie sheet with parchment paper on it that's got the crumbs. I'm going to snack on them today. Now we're going to start on our salsa verde. Salsa verde, I don't know how you say it. The green tomato salsa, and I'm very excited about this. So I've already cut these up because I was going to do pickles out of them, but I decided I've done enough pickles, so I'm going to start on this. This seems really easy. So I don't own kitchen scales, so I'm using my scales from the bathroom, and a friend showed me how to do this. So you see what you weigh. Woohoo! I have gained weight, y'all. This is the first time I've gained weight since I had cancer. I'm very excited about this. And then you hold these. So this is 4 pounds of tomatoes. Yay, I needed 3 pounds. I think I'll add just a little bit to the recipe to make up the difference. Calls for 1 large jalapeno. Now I want to show you these. If you see a jalapeno that's got these marks on it, these are called stretch marks. They're fine. They are just through growing, and that's what causes them to stretch. It calls for some garlic, and you know I'm in love with this peeled garlic. I'm going to have to buy me some more. 1 large onion, some salt, some sugar, and some cilantro. And I don't have much cilantro left. I've got to get some more. I'm telling you, once you clean out your refrigerator, you know what you need. You got to go back to the store. I just do a pickup, so that works out good for me. They actually delivered something to me, and they don't do delivery here, but they did deliver. And I do have things shipped here where I don't have to go into a store, and that works out great for me. But they actually sent somebody to deliver the other day. I couldn't believe it. I almost forgot. Lime juice. I'm sure you could use lemon juice too, but I'm going straight by a recipe that came with my Waterbath canner. It's called Salsa Verde. 8-ounce, half-pint jars, which mine's probably going to make a little bit more because I'm going to add just a little bit more to it. This is going to be easy and good. And we're going to get the green tomatoes out of our fridge. Now, normally right now, I would be thinking about lunch, and I really am. But I want to get this started first, then I'm going to make a pizza. And that's from things in my refrigerator, so this calls for chopped up, very fine tomatoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump a few in my processor because I don't feel like standing and chopping them. And I'm just going to chop these up and add them to the pan. So it went from this to this. So that looks chopped up to me. I'm going to add this to my pan. So I've washed my jalapenos. I'm leaving the seeds in half and throw them in. Let's see what else we've got to chop up. Let's see. We've got our large onion, our garlic. Let's throw our garlic in. This calls for 6 garlics, cloves, which I'm going to add a couple more because I have a little bit more tomatoes. Ooh, that smells so good. And I added 2 jalapenos, which it called for 1 large. Let's see, a large white onion. So we're just going to chop this and get the skin off of it. This onion needed to be used anyway. So I'm going to throw these in here. So I got another onion I'm going to add to this. Ooh, these onions are strong. They're going to be good. So let's see what else. Onion, cilantro, might as well get that. So I just pulled the leaves off of this. Now you can leave the stems on, and I do sometimes, because if you're putting it in the food processor, it's going to chop right up. Go ahead and just use this. That'll be out of my refrigerator too. We're not going to do any more things with cilantro today that I know of. It calls for half a cup. I don't think I have half a cup, but this will work fine. Some people don't even like cilantro. Phew, it's making me cry. So, green tomatoes, onion, jalapeno, garlic, and cilantro. I think that's good. So we'll chop this up.
Some people use tomatillos instead of green tomatoes.
This calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I'm just going to add just a little bit more. I'm not even measuring it. It calls for a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add a little more of that too. I use the Can salt. It calls for half a cup of lime juice. I'm going to add just a little bit more than half a cup because this is, we are canning this. And I've put a little bit more of everything. I'm probably going to add 3/4 of a cup. Oops, we're supposed to add the cilantro and the lime juice after the vegetables are tender. That's okay, it won't hurt nothing.
Isn't this just beautiful? I think it's going to be so good. I'm excited about doing it. Hey, Sweet Hunter just walked through here, and he said he'd rather have fried potatoes and cornbread rather than pizza. So we'll do our pizza later. His wish is my command. And here you can see I'm doing what I do best. I wish we could go this fast in real life, don't you? We'd have everything cleaned up. This is great. Clean as you go. It's a great, great lesson to learn.
So our salsa is boiling for 20 minutes. So while that's happening, I'm going to make this cornbread real quick.
Most of you know that my go-to cornbread is my best friend Vicki's cornbread. It is delicious, y'all, and if you haven't tried it, you need to. I'll link it in the description box. We're just doing a little bit of everything today.
So the timer's went off. Let me show this to you.
Isn't this beautiful? Now, I've eaten this salsa before, but I have never made it, so I'm very excited about doing this. So now I'm just going to fill up my jars, and we'll see how many we come up with. I just love canning. I love canning anything. It just gives you a satisfaction that words can't explain. When you look at those jars, it makes you so proud. If you've never canned before, start out with something simple like this, something water bath. If you water bath first, then you'll move on to pressure canning. Y'all, I got exactly 8 little half pints. I'm so excited. Well, one jar didn't get filled up all the way, but what I'll do is just put a used lid on it. I'll mark them in a way that I know they're used, and I'll just set that aside, and I'll put it in the refrigerator when it cools. Next, I'm going to get the air out of each jar. I just use like a chopstick or any utensil will do that. And you want to leave a 1/2 inch headspace at the top. Now the next step is just to wipe off the top of the jars where you'll get a good seal. I'm just using a wet paper towel. Some people use vinegar, and I do too sometimes, but the most important thing is to make sure that the top of the jar is completely clean. And the next step is to put the lids on. Now you want to use brand new lids. We don't reuse the lids. And then you want to put the rings on finger tight. And you've heard me tell this many times before, that used to we had to boil the lids before we put them on the hot jars. Now you don't have to do that. I do wash them with soapy water and get them good and clean from the manufacturer. Now I'm just moving all my jars over to the canner while we're waiting on it to heat up. Now this is an electric water bath canner, but you can just use a pot for water bathing with a towel in the bottom of it. You don't need anything fancy. As you can see, I'm putting that one jar that wasn't completely filled, I'm putting it in the refrigerator now. I guess y'all can tell I lost all my volume, but that's okay. I know what we're doing here. We're cutting up potatoes to fry for Sweet Hunter. There's nothing better than fried potatoes and cornbread. So we got this pan of potatoes frying now. So we're going to move on to the canner, and I'm going to put these jars in the canner to water bath. And as always, I will link this recipe in the description box. There's nothing simpler than frying potatoes, but I'm telling y'all, Sweet Hunter knows how to do it better than me. He slices those babies up so thin, I wish he had cooked these, but I can cook this cornbread, and I can cook this cornbread better than he can. So, it's Vicky's cornbread. Look at these potatoes. This is how we like them, brown and crunchy. I usually finish them off in the oven. I start them on the stove, finish them off in the oven. Look, this is such a simple, delicious meal, and we're going to enjoy every bit of it. Wish you all were here. So here's our tomato soup that'll be going in the freezer along with our zesty crackers that we made. I'll link those videos in the description box too.
I almost forgot this, which I need to do. So this was a strawberry cake for Sweet Hunter's birthday. And we had a crowd here, so it's about gone. But what I usually do with a whole cake that I make is I take plates and I freeze them where he can just pull them out of the freezer when he wants something. We're probably going to have about 3 slices here. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this. This is from Chelsea's Tea Room in Dalton, Georgia. The best strawberry cake we've ever had. So I've got 3 pieces here. And some crumbs. Usually when I do a cake like this, we have a lot left over and we have a lot in the freezer. But this is going to be 3 pieces. It'll be great. Sweet Hunter's going to love it. But I'm going to go ahead and get those in the freezer today too. So that's something else out of our refrigerator.
So we usually have a lot more cake than this left over, but we did have a crowd here. What I'm doing is I'm just double wrapping this with plastic wrap. And then I'm going to take a Ziploc. You can also vacuum seal this. And I put them in the freezer. Now, when Sweet Hunter looks in the freezer for a dessert, he can see right through the Ziploc. so he can tell exactly what he's getting. And I usually have chocolate cake, cookies, pies. I have a lot in the freezer, so he can choose from any of these things. This is just a convenient way to do desserts. And nothing's ever wasted. And I'll tell you something I love is when company drops in and you want to offer them a dessert, it takes about 10 minutes for this to thaw out. It's just great. Now we're moving back to our canner and removing the jars of salsa from the canner. You want to always be as safe as you can be with this, and always go by the recipe approved by the Ball Cannon book. Y'all, we have done a lot today. Isn't it amazing just cleaning out your refrigerator, the meals that you can come up with? Hey, I just want to encourage y'all all to do something. If cleaning out your refrigerator is the only thing you do, y'all do it. Y'all go cook something.